My name is Joan Henry, and I'm Claire's grandmother. I'm 69, and I'm looking forward to talking to you about your questions.
Are you or were you married and did you have a family? Describe the family.
Yes, I was married, and I have four daughters, one of whom is Claire's mom, Tamra, and I have 10 grandchildren, and all of my daughters live in California right now.
Where and when were you born?
I was born in Davenport, Iowa in 1947.
Are you the first generation to be born in the U.S.? If not, do you know who was?
I'm not the first generation to be born in the U.S., and my guess is that it was probably a great, great, great grandparent who was born in Germany.
What do you remember about November 22nd, 1963, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated? Many people have said hope in America died a little that day. Do you agree, and how did America change?
I agree that it was a very, very difficult time for the United States, and I remember when that happened. I was a sophomore in high school, and I was in the school cafeteria at the time, and we heard over the loudspeaker that President Kennedy had died. And I remember all the kids, we all just fell apart and cried, and we were all sad because he was a very popular president. And so it was a really difficult time in our history when that happened.
How about the Vietnam War? Do you think America had lost trust in the federal government by the end of the war? And if so, has this trust ever been won back?
I believe that the trust was lost. At least I lived in Missouri at the time, and people there definitely were not very happy with President Nixon, who kept us in the war. And I am from a family of four children, three girls and one boy, and my younger brother was killed in Vietnam when he was only 20 years old. I was 22 at the time, and so that was a very difficult time for our family as well. The fact that the war was happening was very devastating, but that we personally suffered that tragedy was even more difficult for us.
How do you think the world's perception of the United States changed on July 20th, 1969, when we put the first men on the moon?
I believe that we were put in a very, very positive light for that. That was an amazing accomplishment and something that people didn't think was possible. And so it was an absolutely thrilling time in our country, and I believe we were looked at in a very positive way at that time.
How do you think the world looked at the U.S. following Nixon's resignation on August 8th, 1974, in response to the Watergate scandal?
Well, I think that the country was in really difficult times during the Vietnam War because it kept going on, and a lot of people were not happy with the war. There were a lot of people who chose not to go to the war and move to other countries and avoid the draft in any way that they could, so it was a difficult time. President Nixon was not particularly popular, and when the Watergate scandal came out, I think people felt that him leaving was going to be very good for our country.
In what way do you think our nation changed on November 9th, 1989, when the Berlin Wall came down, effectively ending the Cold War?
We were pretty happy at the time with our president, President Reagan, and it was a huge milestone in the world when that happened. I think it was a cause for celebration all over the world.
And what do you remember about September 11th, 2001, when the country experienced the terrorist attacks on the Pentagon and World Trade Center? How has America changed by this?
Well, at the time, once again, our country was devastated. We had never experienced something of that that was that horrible in our country before on our soil. Most of the really bad wars had happened other than in the United States, and to have that kind of terror in our country was extremely frightening for everybody and very, very, very upsetting to say the least. And I think at the time we all pulled together because we wanted to make sure that nothing like this happened again, and because so many people lost their lives, our country for sure was very concerned about each other, and I think we pulled together in a really wonderful way to support each other and try to get through that difficult time.
Finally, it is said that every American citizen has a dream, be it wealth, happiness, a better life for their children, etc. What was your dream, and do you think you achieved it?
Oh, wow. I think my dream was to have a family and to have a home and to see my children grow up and be successful people and to sit here with Claire someday because she's so adorable. Um, and so I feel as though, yeah, I think that my dreams have been met and I've had a wonderful life. I feel extremely fortunate to have been raised in the United States and still feel very confident that it's a wonderful place to live.